Then you have to be practical, Mr. President. What I would tell you is this. We built these agriculture markets for decades. Your tariff rhetoric serves to only tear those down and to provide uncertainty to the market. You're going to make it back, and it's going to be made back faster than anybody would know. Hope is not a marketing plan. Hope is not a business plan, and I know you know that. China, once the US's biggest buyer of crops, semiconductors and energy, is cutting imports, and the ripple effects are devastating. Brazil and Russia are stepping in to replace American goods, leaving the $690 billion trade relationship at risk. Can US industries recover as China doubles down on self-reliance? Out here in agriculture country, we can't just sit around and hope that things are going to get better. I'm a Republican. I've always been a Republican. I've voted for President Trump. I want to support him. China and others have targeted our farmers. Not good, not nice. And you know what our farmers are saying? It's okay, we can take it. These are incredible people, we can take it. That makes my blood boil. Because by God, I'll tell you this, I can draw a direct line from when the president started this tariff rhetoric to the price of my soybeans. Before we get into the details, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for upcoming videos. Change this year, the CEO of Bunge tells Bloomberg and Reuters, China is very deliberately not buying soybeans from the US. It has potential. It could very well turn into something seriously. But according to the US Census Bureau, Chinese imports of US products dropped by $6.2 billion in 2023, which is a drop from pre-trade levels. This decline is particularly pronounced in the agricultural sector, where China once purchased nearly 60% of America's soybean exports. Dr. Chad B., a senior fellow at the Peterson Institute for International Economics, warns that this isn't just about trade figures, it's about how deeply interconnected. Industries are losing China as a buyer. The roots of this economic unraveling can be traced back to the US-China trade war that began in 2018. The Trump administration imposed tariffs on $370 billion worth of Chinese goods, prompting Beijing to retaliate with tariffs on $100 billion worth of US exports. Agriculture, technology, and energy were among the hardest hit sectors. A report by the National Bureau of Economic Research found that during the trade war's peak, US exports to China fell by nearly 20%. Beijing's response went beyond retaliation. It initiated a restructuring of its import strategies. China began diversifying its supply chains, turning to Brazil for soybeans, Europe for technology partnerships, and Russia for energy resources. In an op-ed for the Financial Times, economist Yu Yongding stated the trade war accelerated China's push for self-reliance. This wasn't a temporary response, it's a long-term strategy. Agriculture, a sector in crisis. The agricultural sector has borne the brunt of China's import reduction strategy. In 2022, China purchased over $35 billion worth of US agricultural products, down from $45 billion in 2017. China's soybean imports from the US have dropped dramatically. In 2016, the US supplied 40% of China's soybean imports. By 2024, this share had plummeted to 18%. Meanwhile, Brazil's share grew from 46% to 76% over the same period. The corn market tells a similar story. Brazil overtook the US as China's top corn supplier in 2023, just 1 year after Beijing approved purchases from the South American agricultural powerhouse. US corn exports to China sank by 71% through September 2023, according to USDA data. The American Farm Bureau reported that between 2018 and 2020, US farmers lost an estimated $26 billion in export revenue due to tariffs. Farm bankruptcies in states like Iowa and Nebraska increased by 23% during the trade war's peak. John Heisdorfer, an Iowa soybean farmer and former president of the American Soybean Association, described the situation as dire. Losing China as a customer isn't just a loss of revenue, Heisdorfer said, it's a loss of stability. It's hard to plan for the future. Imagine a future when your largest buyer disappears. Brazil stepped into the gap left by US farmers with strategic precision. In 2022, Brazil exported a record 53.6 million metric tons of soybeans to China, capturing over half of the market share. This dominance wasn't accidental. Brazil benefits from lower production costs, favorable trade agreements, and a currency advantage. Moreover, China has invested heavily in Brazilian infrastructure, including railways and ports, to streamline the transport of agricultural goods. According to the Chinese ambassador Wang, to reduce its reliance on agricultural exports from the USA and Australia, the Chinese government is looking to import more food from South Africa. Also, for decades, South Africa's exports to China had been mainly minerals and metals, but recently had included many agricultural products. Wu said, "This year we are working hard with the South African side towards signing export protocols for more goods, including wool, dairy products, pet food, and wild aquatic products." The economic fallout from reduced agricultural exports goes far beyond the farms. Entire rural communities depend on the success of agriculture, from equipment manufacturers to logistics companies. When farms lose income, so do the businesses that serve them. A University of Illinois study found that every dollar lost in farm income results in a 2.87 reduction in local economic activity. For rural towns in the Midwest, this means fewer jobs, school closures, and declining populations. The price of soybeans was $10.50 a bushel. Today, it's $8.50 a bushel. That's a 20% decrease. I have to tell you, Mr. President, this hurts. This is hurting our long-term future. This is hurting me. Whether it's transportation, whether it's production, whether it's the clerk at the grocery store, when agriculture gets sick, everybody feels that kind of pain. It's really easy to be ideological when both your belly and your wallet are fat, but when you're broke and hungry, then you have to be practical. The semiconductor struggle. The semiconductor industry, often referred to as the new oil of the modern economy, has also been significantly impacted by China's reduced imports. In 2023, U.S. chip exports to China fell by 14%, according to the Semiconductor Industry Association. This decline isn't merely economic, it's strategic.